hope you're doing well and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I am going to be reading books based on my favourite and then the winners from Eurovision 2024. It was a stressful-ish time. There's a lot of, drama and controversy surrounding the competition. But I still love Eurovision. I've loved it for so many years. It's like an integral part of my yearly events. I just think just the way it brings together is just so wacky and weird, and also some really amazing great songs have come from it. And it's just not really anything else ever made. I'm gonna pick my 3 favorite books from the 2 first semi-finals, read them, and then I'm gonna pick my 2 favorite books from the actual final, and then I'm gonna read a book from the country that won the jury vote, public vote, and then the actual winner. So I'm possibly gonna be reading 8 books in this video, but I'm not 100% sure yet. If the actual winner is the same as one of the other 2, then I'll just read one from that. Or if the winner is one of my favourite 2 from the night, then I'll just read the one book. So I don't know how this is gonna go, but whatever. I do know how this is gonna go because I am filming this after I've watched it. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna put in list of rankings of what I gave the song, my initial thoughts, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, so from my listing, only 3 entries got an 8. Quite a few more got 7 and 6 and stuff, but the highest I gave was an 8, and the 3 countries were all in the first semi-final. It was Australia, Ukraine and Croatia. So I'm going to read a book from each of those countries. How Australia didn't get through, I don't know how, because that was the best performance on the night for me personally. I think it had everything. It had vocals, it had staging, it had culture. It was just very, very well rounded and such a good performance. Whatever. Now I'm going to put in the clips of me reading those 3 books, and I'll come back to you for the final. So here is my world lit. I think that's New Zealand. I think these are my 3 Australians. I think I'm going to pick Marlowe. It's the one I'm most excited for. So I started Marlowe. I think I'm on about page 40 to 50. I'm not too sure. I was reading on the bus coming here. I'm currently in Dartford in Central Park. It's really pretty. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm not loving it, but I'm enjoying it. I'm basically following this man called Chris, and he moves from his small town, rural hometown of Marlowe, to Melbourne. And he's a young gay man in the 50s, and it's still illegal, and he sort of wanted to get away from the oppressiveness of his small town, but he's understanding that Melbourne is sort of the same, and he's just sort of trying to get by. And now he's met this other guy called Morgan, and I believe sort of most of the story is following their romance and relationship, but obviously in a time that they can't be together. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm underlining some parts. I'll probably show you them later, but yeah, would recommend so far. I look terrible, I know, but I'm home now. I finished reading some more. I got to page 96, and yeah, it's still the same. Like, I like it, but I don't love it. And yeah, we're just getting to know more characters as well, and a lot of the book is focusing on his sort of like repression of his sexuality, and sort of not wanting to embrace it because it's illegal, and also he just doesn't really feel like comfortable in like a queer space, and just exploring that and this sort of like budding romance. And also Morgan, he is, I believe, mixed race. I think he is like half Aboriginal and half like white Australian. There is the like explicit also racism within the society at the time, in the way that he is treated compared to Chris. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's good. We'll probably not read any more tonight. I think I'll give you an update tomorrow and see if I can finish it, and then we'll get on to the next country. But yeah, I am enjoying this so far. It's about like between a 3.5 and a 4. So I finished Marlowe quite a few days ago, actually. I think about maybe like 3 or 4 days, and I enjoyed it. I think it is decent, but there's just something lacking really in it that can make it go beyond a 4. There's just something about the plot or the story that it just isn't really clicking with me exactly, and things a little bit left up in the air. I do also think the historical notes at the end were very decent, and they definitely added to understanding the book and the author's intentions in writing it. It describes about the place that gay men were in during 1950s in Australia, with like the media and the police having them at the forefront of like their attention. Basically, murderers and like serious crimes, their like personal details weren't leaked, but if someone was, you know, on trial or whatever of homosexual offences, their details were, and how like police would like pretend to cruise to trap men, and then arrest them, or some other ones would just beat them up, and just like the law at the time, and how so much like archival evidence of queer lives at the time aren't like available because they weren't like written down, and they weren't, you know, able to live basically. So this book, Carmichael tries to imagine the life of these two men during that time and sort of how they navigated it basically. But yeah, the writing is quite nice. I did underline a few passages where I might put some quotes on my review in StoryGraph and Goodreads. But yeah, I think I'm probably gonna give this maybe about a 3.25 or 3.5. But I would like to read something else by him. I shall now put in the clip of me picking the next book. Now it's time for Ukrainian. I don't think I have any Ukrainian translated fiction. It would be like there. So well, I think I have these. I have Death of the Penguin or A Short History of Tractors in Ukrainian. I think I'm more inclined for Death of the Penguin, so let's start this. Taking another one today. Will it be redemption? Wasn't translated. It is actually translated from Russian by George Bird, and this is sort of like a crime book. It follows the main character Victor, and he has a pet penguin called Misha, and he is employed by this person that he just calls the chief, I think, yeah, to write obituaries of people that are like in high profile professions, like military people, people that are in like the government and stuff like that, before they're actually dead. He's asked to look after this little girl called Sonia, and he also meets another woman called Nina, and Sergey, and another Misha, and yeah, just some other people as they're going along. In a similar vein, it's fine, but I'm just not really clicking with it. I also think the writing, or possibly the translation, is the main problem here. It just feels very like stop start. The plot I am somewhat here for, but I'm not like enamored by it. I'm not like really intrigued. I feel like quite a lot of the time you're just going along, but not really much is happening. And yeah, but yeah, I'm about, I don't know, 70%, maybe 80% through. I think I've got maybe like 50 pages left. I would like to maybe finish this tonight, but I don't think I will. Yeah, at the moment this is given 3 or maybe 2.5 star rating vibes. But yeah, I will talk about more of it when I finish. But that is my update for now. I set up to finish this to 3 a.m. Yes, I did. Was it worth it? No, it wasn't. I really wanted to DNF this like earlier in the book. I didn't say this because I didn't be doing any updates on it. I don't know what point I got to. Maybe it was like about page 40, and then it just carried on. I was just like not feeling it. I so wish I did. This is just a very irritating book in my opinion, and I just don't really see the point. And yeah, I don't know. This just feels to me like a very irritating book, and this definitely continues being the case as it develops. It's short. It's only 228 pages. I felt like it slogged quite a lot. The pacing was off. The writing wasn't good. The plot just is very monotonous. It's sort of like the same thing happening, and things just also happen a bit too easy and just fit into place in some sense, or there's like little questioning of why things are happening, and it's just quite annoying. And yeah, I just couldn't really bring myself to feel for or like many other characters, only really Sonia and Nina as well later on. When I said my favourite character was Sonia, I meant it's Misha the penguin. Well, no, I didn't mean that, because obviously I meant to say it goes Misha and then Sonia. But yeah, I just don't know. I feel like there was just more he could have done with the fact there's a penguin. And most people are just like, yeah, whatever, there's a penguin in Kiev. Because that's the most normal thing, isn't it? But yeah, also, I forgot to say, I guess in some ways it does do quite a decent job of painting the picture of the, at the time, modern Ukraine, with sort of like a bad health service and like mafia and like lots of like shootings and corruption and sort of like you have to like pay your way to get to basic services that you should be entitled to. I guess also me saying that as a British person with the NHS and things, it's obviously different in other countries, so maybe not entitled to it, but it's something that the government provides, and you know, but on the whole, I feel like the things that it does well aren't outweighed by the irritations of the book. Yeah, so that final little note. And the thing with Nina just makes me feel a little bit, I don't know. And yeah, there's also quite a few other things in here that just sort of like really irritate me. I was like, why? But But anyway, I'm happy it's done. Definitely gonna be unhauling this. I think for star rating, probably 2.25 stars, maybe a straight up 2. Yeah, I didn't really like this, and it definitely didn't end well. I think there's a second one, so I sort of understand the way it did end for that sake, but I'm not going to continue. I think it's just a duology, I'm not 100% sure though, but yeah. And I don't know if I'm going to read something by him again, if I'm being honest. People say his writing is addictive and it's like very like good, like black comedy, but I did not get that at all. This sounds rude, but for me personally, the best part of this book was the joke at the beginning. Like, weren't even actually part of it. I think it's just like what's the word? Is it like an epitaph or something? I'm not sure, but like the thing that's like before the actual start of the book. That was the best part. But yeah, I'm happy I have read something else from Ukraine. Definitely the 2 non-fictions were better than this, but I probably will read more books from the country. But I don't think I'm going to be coming back to Kirkov. So yeah, thank you, but goodbye. Now we are gonna go on to Croatia. I have 2 books that I've recently got for this video, and I will decide which one I read in the morning and show you the journey of reading it. So yeah, see you then. Hello. So I chose this book yesterday and I started reading it. It's Wild Woman by Marina Shurpurlovsky. I think I've pronounced it right. I had to look up this sort of like interview on YouTube. It was all in Croatian. I just tried to like get to the bit where the person doing the interview was talking with Marina, so I can like know how to pronounce her name right. So I hope I did it right. But yeah, I'm enjoying this at the moment. I'm about 30 pages in. It's quite dense and it's quite wordy, but I'm still enjoying it, I guess. But I'll tell you more about it when I'm more the way through. But yeah, I thought I'd go out and see. I might film some bits, I don't know. But yeah, let's go. I've now watched the final. If you can't tell already, this is all being filmed in one go, these sections, but whatever. And my 2 favourite from the night, I will put the listing now. Ukraine again and France. I think the French entry, he really just like pulled it out of the bag, and he was so strong and so like passionate in the performance. I think it just sounded amazing, and it just was really, really good. So I'm now going to read a book from Ukraine and one from France. The overall winner and the jury winner was Switzerland, so congratulations, Nima.
I think the pressure of this week, and with all the contestants have been
I did think your performance was really, really good. I'm also going to read a book from Switzerland. Croatia won the viewers vote, so I'm also going to read another book from Croatia, so let's go do that. Just reached the 100-page mark, got 150 left, but I thought I would reward myself for getting to that point. I'm making a coffee and trying to read. Oh, I just spilled some. Trying to read some more. So let's also, I just wanted to say in case I forget about it, but like this book, it's not meant to be funny, and it is quite bleak and depressing in a way as well. But there's just some parts of it, and I think it's just the way that she's writing certain characters and things that I just can't help but find funny or like humorous. And I have laughed quite a lot of times at this book. Not the bits that are evidently, you know, depressing. But yeah, I don't know, like I am really enjoying it. I'm loving like the way that she's telling the story. But at the same time, like I said before, it is quite dense and a bit wordy. It's a little bit like fruitcake, in the sense that like it's enjoyable, but like you can't have too much, and it's a bit, you know, hard to get through. Does that analogy work? I don't know, but anyway, more of this. So it's actually been quite a few days now. The past 2 days I've just had the most like massive migraine, and just been just very like ill and like weird, like achy and strange. I don't know, but I think I've read quite a bit more since the last time. I'm on page 224 of this. I did want to finish it like 2 days ago, but because everything, I haven't yet. But I'm just gonna go out today, sort of like a chillish sort of day, maybe like a park. But I don't really want to take this because I've only got about 30 pages left, and although I don't think I probably will finish it then, it is like a bit heavy. So instead I'm going to go on to my next book, which is another Ukrainian entry, and the other book I've got is the tractor manual thing. It's not, that's not what it is, but it's something like that. But I don't want to read that. I really don't want to read that so much, and I just know I'm not going to enjoy it. Well, maybe I might, but just at the moment I just feel like I won't. So instead I'm going to read this, which is a poetry collection I recently picked up. I know my hair is like, what on earth? But it's Food for the Dead by Charlotte Shevchenko Knight. She is of British and Ukrainian heritage. It's not translated, it's written in English. She gives the current war in Ukraine some much needed human focus while examining its brutal aggression within a wider and more accurate historical context. Central to the poem is a timeline of hunger, a lyrical sequence which examines the legacy of the Holodomor. I remember studying that, which was the like death by hunger in Ukrainian, which is the man-made famine in the 1930s by Stalin. And this long poem opens in Kyiv in 2021, and closes in Donetsk in 1929. Through the poet's sensitive approach to the historical, moving from the genocide of the early 1930s, then on through the Second World War, the Chernobyl disaster, to modern-day invaded Ukraine, we understand that within their bones Holodomor lives on. And yeah, it sounds like it might be quite, you know, depressing, like deep, but I would like to read something about it because obviously it's still going on, and I fancy some poetry. I haven't read a poetry in a long time, so I feel like it'll be a bit more different. Ow. So I'm going to start this when I go out, and I'll let you know how I get on with it. Let's have a bit of a bumper update on what I've read for the rest of this video, because I was like really ill for a while, and then I also had a uni assignment which was quite a big important one which I had to complete, so I've been sort of like focusing on that I got it done. Let's just, you know, hope and pray that I pass these 2 modules and I can go back to my university in September. So let's just see. But anyway, let's get back to these books that I'm reading. I did end up finishing Wild Woman, thankfully. And on the whole, I enjoyed this. I think for star rating, I'm probably giving this 3.5 stars. I never really told you what the plot was about, but we're basically following a woman, and in the first chapter, it's sort of like her in like her apartment, and someone has recently left, and it's just sort of like she's sort of like descending into sort of like quite like a down, sort of like depressive, like very underactive episode where she's just like going from like room to room in a way, just like feeding her dog, not really doing anything. And then it sort of like goes back in the next chapter. She's 26 about that, and she goes back to when she's about like 18, 19ish age, and she's starting university. And here she meets another young man who we never get his name, nor do we get her name. And they sort of start a relationship. It's basically follows that up until the present timeline. And she starts to learn how like this man sort of like vanishes and sort of like doesn't tell her like what he's doing or where he's going. It's sort of a little bit manipulative at times. And she just is putting so much effort into this relationship and marriage, but he's not. And it's sort of like talking about how it's like the missed opportunity she's had because she's focused on this when she should have been focusing on, you know, other things like finishing a degree and being with other men possibly, and just sort of like the social expectations of a woman in Croatia during the 70s when it's set. It's quite like time specific as well, and it also talks about sort of like her friends and family and different sort of like the sacrifices she has done, and just like different events in the timeline. Quite slow paced, but it is well paced as well. Like it follows through up until the end. I feel like the end is a little bit too fast, and at the end she sort of like becomes sort of like a wild woman in a way, is what she calls herself, and it's just sort of like this descent from so long being sort of like left in the dark of his actions, and then sort of response to and like discovering of something. But yeah, I think that maybe it could have been a little bit more expanded on, or maybe beforehand been a little bit, you know, cut out. But yeah, I do think it's quite good, and it tells sort of about like the missed opportunities and like things that you could have done and probably should have done differently if you could, you know, think back. On the whole, I enjoyed it and I would definitely recommend it. It just also, like I was saying before, the writing is quite dense, and it is quite like hard to, you know, get through at times. The main character also, I felt her a little bit insensitive as well sometimes, and the author sort of like when she talks about people, there was quite a lot of emphasis on sort of like their appearance, like their weight as well. But yeah, I would recommend it, but I didn't love it. This poetry collection, Food for the Dead by Charlotte Shevchenko Knight, I enjoy quite a lot. I'm probably going to about a 4-star rating. It's poems that are split into 4 sections. The first is called Grandmothers, which is about, you know, the author's grandmothers and grandmothers of Ukraine, and sort of like how they interact with their family and sort of like their ideals and stuff. The next is Hunger, which is about, you know, hunger and sort of like the generational trauma and legacy of the Holodomor. Man-made famine. There's one called Timeline of Hunger, which I think was done really well. It sort of like goes back in time from like the modern day current war to the 30s when the Holodomor took place, and different events within Ukraine's history during that time, and I think that was just done very, very well. Then the next one is Corpse, about sort of like the dead from then, and then The War, which is more up to date about the current situation and also the legacy of past conflicts and problems in the country. And yeah, and running throughout all of them is this sort of like theme of hunger and food, and how it like impacts many people's actions in like their identity to some sense. And yeah, I did think it was done very, very well. They are quite like easy to understand, like you don't have to put that much brain power into reading the poems. And they're all very short. Nearly all of them are basically a page, apart from that one longer one. But yeah, I definitely recommend this, and I would love to check out something else by Night. I showed you picking out the French book, I think so. Honestly, it's been quite a while since I've done an update, but here we go. Now, these are my French books, but I'm not really feeling any of these, and I do have one in mind that is of one of my 2024. It should be pre-24 behind here. Yep. Oh, Love Me Tender by Constance Debris. It's a little bit short, so start with this. But that was Love Me Tender by Constance Debris. I didn't particularly like this, and if I'm being completely honest, I think it was fine. I'm probably gonna give this 3 stars. But it's following the main character, who basically is the author. It is auto-fiction, and it starts about 3 years after her divorce from a man called Laurent, and she tells him that she has started seeing women, and then from this he goes on a very like vicious and horrible custody battle over their son Paul, and he like makes up things about her and her friends and acquaintances, and also sort of makes Paul say bad things about his mother. And it's just very like hard to read at times, because she's just put in a lot of effort, and there are so many hurdles that she has to overcome just to get like an hour seeing her son, and so many other people have to like be involved in it. And it's just sort of about how like the French government not taking her side and understanding like her things from her point of view. And that is sort of one part of it, about her relationship with her son, and sort of the love of it. And also, I guess sometimes the way she thinks about it is a little bit like, oh, I'm in a better place where I have more freedom now. I don't have him to, contend with. And I don't know if that's just sort of her reacting to the fact that she has so little time with him, or it's her actually enjoying the freedom it brings. I'm not 100%, but I wouldn't really feel like that person myself, but obviously people do. And then another part of the book is about sort of like her sexual reawakening and understanding herself more, being a lesbian woman, and different liaisons and relationships with so many different women, and how it's all very like casual, and she doesn't really want anything from it because she's sort of like focused on the custody battle, and it's hard to maintain relationships. And yeah, I thought them bits was fine. It was a little bit crude at times, but it was nothing, over gratuitous or whatever. I just wasn't really that interested in it. But yeah, I guess I just didn't particularly really like her and sort of the way she felt about certain things sometimes. I forgot to say as well, but she also uses the F slur a couple times. It's not excessive, but there's enough for me to pick up on it. And obviously, as a lesbian woman, using the F slur when she's talking about a gay man is still, not right. So I just wanted to add that. But I do understand the place that she in is a very like difficult situation. I do think some parts of it done was quite well. The writing is also quite good. It's very like pinpoint. It's all like really like short chapters, which I love short chapters, me. Yeah, I just felt like it was a little bit messy, and it could have done with a bit more editing to fully, well round what she's trying to say in it. And yeah, at times it just felt like she was just sort of like talking for the sake of it, and maybe like a little bit like diary entry-esque sort of notes, more than a well put together novel. But yeah, also, I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna read anything else by Debray. Her first book, which is called Playboy, which came out before this, but it was translated after, so it wasn't possible to read it before anyway. It is out now though, I believe. Which is about sort of like the time before this, and I believe more sort of like her understanding that she is a lesbian woman, which might be more interesting, but I don't know. I'm happy I read it. It's just a shame because it's from my 2024 that I didn't love it, but what can you do? And I started my new Croatian book because Croatia won the public vote, and that is Farewell Cowboy by this person. I'm gonna look up how to pronounce their name, and it is translated from Croatian by Celia Hawksworth. I'm on page 68 at the moment, so I'm not that much in really. It's following a young woman called Dada, and she returns home to Split from Zagreb, sort of like on the whim, after her sister told her some news a little bit before then, and she is there to help the mum. And it's sort of, I think it's about 4 or 5 years after her younger brother Daniel apparently died by suicide, and sort of like after effects of this, and she's trying to work out, was his death, you know, a murder, or like did he actually die by suicide, and what were the real reasons why. But it's not really gotten that much into it at the moment. It's quite a lot of it first of all is sort of talking about the town of Split and sort of like the divide between the sort of like native people that live there and then the newcomers, and sort of the tourists, and how there's a big like division in sort of like the wealth and the access to services and the poverty of certain parts where like they live, but also like more community, I guess, spirit. And she's sort of thinking about her past and sort of like past like relationships with like friends and things, and her sister and brother and their like family unit and who they used to interact with, and also this other man who was like a vet who lived nearby, who was like suspected of being gay, and how he sort of like was pushed away, and how him and her brother sort of, not necessarily like a friendship, but like they knew each other a bit more better than other people. And it says on the back that she sort of makes acquaintances with a young gigolo called Angelo, and how he sort of like was caught up in her brother's death, which I think we're going to be getting to that soon. But yeah, I'm enjoying it mostly. Similar to Wild Women, it's a little bit dense and it's hard to fully follow what's going on. I think it is quite well written, and I'm intrigued by the storyline, so we shall just see. Morning. So yesterday I did read quite a bit of this. I'm on to page 116 now, and we've sort of like got to the part where she's met Angelo, and there's also this famous actor who was in these different like spaghetti western films that the dad used to like, and also the brother Daniel used to enjoy watching as well. He's come to like, he's directing now a film, sort of like a western in the town where they live, and Angelo is sort of like a non-speaking role actor in it, and that's how she sort of like met him. But yeah, it's sort of going along. Still intrigued. It's just taken quite a long time to really get anywhere or say much, which is a little bit frustrating. It's just sort of quite like wordy, and it also, I mean, it does follow a linear pattern. Am I falling? I feel like it's like slowly been falling, and it is like following a linear pattern, but it also like changes as well, like like it can go back a few days and then go back to where it was, or like a little bit earlier in that day, and stuff like that, which is a little bit confusing. I really want to try and finish this today, hopefully. But yeah, I wanted to go out today, but I woke up with a really bad migraine, so yeah, I don't know. I took a tablet. Maybe I might just go to like the park or something. I'm not sure. That might be fun, but we shall see. And I shall give you an update. Hey, thought I'd go for a little walk. My head has gone down a bit, but it's still there. Also, although it looks nice, it says it might rain in about an hour and a half, but I was just like, whatever, let's just go. If it rains, it rains. I've got my brolly. But yeah, let's just see. Probably won't stay out for long because, yeah, but I'll take you anyway. Feels like Teddy, like it feels like Teddy material. Strangest thing I've ever seen. Wow. I went out the park and then walked along, came to a different bit of something else that I vaguely remember going to maybe like a year or 4 ago, but I can't like fully remember exactly where it is and things. But we're spitting a bit earlier, but it's got a bit more blue sky, so fingers crossed. Yeah, I haven't read anything. I sat for a bit, but not for that long because it's been a bit busy because it's bank holiday. And yeah, but let's just see. I'm back. Had quite a long walk. It was nice. It was fun. But yeah, I think I'm gonna make an iced coffee now. I haven't made an iced coffee in quite a long time, and I need to get ready for my skills for June, because if you know, you know. So yeah, I'm gonna do that and then hopefully read a bit more of the book because I haven't read since yesterday. So yeah. The narrative like voice has changed, and now I really don't like it. Like, no, I just I'm not here for it anymore, to be honest. I kind of want a DNF, but I've only got about 30 pages left, so I should continue. I just don't want to. I really don't want to at the moment, but Just try and push through, Hey, so I finished Farewell Cowboy by Olga Savichevich. I believe that's how it's probably pronounced. I looked up on Google like an interview with her, and that is what the interviewer said, so hopefully got that right. I found this just very flat in a way. Like a few things happened, but honestly not much. It just felt at times a little bit like diary entries, and quite boring, monotonous ones at that. I do think that she was trying to say something about the place of like native split residents in the old settlement, and how they've sort of been pushed to the sidelines in a way, and the life of people there. It's set in 2009, a year before it was published, and sort of about the after effects of like the Yugoslav war and tensions in the Balkan area, because Split is more further down in the country compared to Zagreb, where the earlier book from Croatia was set, and that sort of dealt more with that, like the aftermath of like World War II and the place of Croatia at the time, but this was a bit more current. And I do like obviously think that there is some positives about it, and the different characters and what they bring to it, but on the whole it was just a little bit boring, and quite a big slog to get through it. Like, I was reading, but I wasn't really getting like anything from it or moving on through it either, which is quite a bit of a shame. So I don't really know what for star rating. I'm edging towards a 2.5, but possibly a 3. I'm not 100%, but I'll just think about it over the next few days. But yeah, I'm glad I read it, because it was one that I've been wanting to read for a while. It sounded quite interesting, and the back didn't really live up to it. I thought it was going to be more about trying to find out, like, was it sort of a suicide, and like what led up to the events and things, and it does in a way, but not that much. And also when a narrative changed for like the western section, it wasn't that long, it was probably about 30-40 pages. I didn't really like that, to be honest, but yeah, I don't know, I would not recommend this, but at the same time there is some positives and some takeaways. I just wouldn't really ever want to read it again. So yep. Now let's go on to Switzerland, the true winner of Eurovision 2024. I do not have another proper Swiss authored book. I read one last year for my Bookish World Cup, didn't like it, and I do not have any other Swiss authored books in my possession. But I do have 2 by an author who is of French and Korean heritage, I believe, and there's this little interview thing. I'll put the picture here. I think she was brought up in Switzerland, and she says sort of like that is what she identifies as. So I'm going to pick one of them, and I've been wanting to read both of them, but specifically one, for a long time, because I've had it for a while. So I'll flip you around, choose that, but I probably won't start reading it till tomorrow. Now, for the Swiss entry that isn't actually Swiss, it would be somewhere like here if I did have something else from an actual Swiss author, but I don't. I have one that is translated from French, I believe, by Elisa Dusapin. She lives in Switzerland, and the one I'm most excited for is Winter in Sokcho, which is her debut. I just love this cover, so let's start this. Hey, so I finished this one whilst I was out. I went out about like 10:30, and then I was reading it on like different buses, and I think I finished this maybe about like 12. So yeah, so not long into it, because it was just very easy to read, but very short. But I have a massive migraine at the moment, so I think I'm just gonna like, I've taken some tablets, I don't have any with me. I'm gonna see if I can wrap this up tonight. If not, in the morning, whatever, I'll edit and upload, so I'll see you whenever. Good morning again. So let's give a little review of Winter in Sokcho by Elisa Chua-Dusapin. This is translated from the French by Anissa Abbas Higgins. I translated one of my favourite books of last year, All Men Want to Know by Nina Boury. And I just really, I don't know if it's the author's writing or it's her translation and the way that she's like put it, but it just feels very like concise, and it just flows so nicely, so I cannot wait to read more of her translations. But this book was actually really good. I'm probably gonna give it about a 4-star rating. Following a young woman who works in a guest house in Sokcho, which is a seaside town in the north of South Korea, near the border, and it's in the winter time, so there isn't really like any tourist or much going on because it's heavily reliant on the tourism from the beaches and things. And also the like fish markets, but the woman is of French and Korean heritage, like the author, and then this French comic artist comes to stay, called Kerand. I don't actually know what her name is. I don't know if it's said. I don't think it is actually. It sort of wants to set his final book in a series in Sokcho and sort of asked her to like show him sort of like some of like the places, sort of like the more like touristy places, but she also wants to like try and show him the real Sokcho and sort of like the impacts of the war and the still current threats that there's a possible invasion because they're so close to the border, about sort of like the fish market where her mum works and like the like hard life of people living there. They grow sort of like a bond, and she wants to sort of like be like immortalized, her sort of like thoughts and things and stuff, and some other things happen as well. There's not really that much plot per se. It feels very like calming, and I could just like read like a version of this like in so many different places. It was just very well rounded, and despite like little happening, you feel for the characters and like the sense of place. But yeah, I think I'm probably only going to give this a 4 because there wasn't really that much there of substance. But I do like the sort of like sparse and like pinpoint like writing, and it feels very like determined what she's trying to say and put across, and it's just like very nice to read. I would really recommend this, and I cannot wait to start the Pachinko Parlor hopefully soon. So that's the end of that review. I thought I'd quickly just rank the books I read in this video. So here's the ranking. I probably put Cliff and the Penguin at the bottom, Farewell Cowboy, Love Me Tender, Wild Woman, Marlowe, Food for the Dead, and then Winter in Sokcho at the top. So that is the ranking. I would recommend, I guess, all of them for specific reasons, but only really the top 4 did I enjoy mostly. So yep, I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Have a nice morning, even night, wherever you are in the world, and I shall be seeing you soon. Bye.